Terry, Graham, Eric, and Terry. It's a real pleasure to meet you. Thinking about the 160 17, 18-year-olds that I teach, and they asked me about the title of your new movie, The Meaning of Life, and they thought that was extremely funny. And I just want to know why your humor connects with them.
I think it's a bit about authority. It's a bit about sort of, not taking things for granted, maybe. I mean, if our comedy is about anything, it's about sort of, well, don't let anybody sort of tell you what to do, and think.
So that's what they were thinking. I
They were getting at you, Jim.
They were getting at me. I guess so. Okay. Some people find your humor tremendously funny, and others are offended by it. And where do you draw the line, or how do you draw the line between being offensive and funny?
We try not to draw lines. I mean, we just try and be funny, and then other people draw lines, but the lines aren't there. I mean, they're entirely imaginary lines that are beyond behavioral lines that they construct for their own reasons that don't exist, don't have any existence.
Yeah, it'd be very worrying if we found that everybody found us funny. I mean, obviously we wouldn't be saying anything of any interest that couldn't conjure up a bit of controversy.
I think that's fair. It's whether you're making comedy or making humour, whatever you're doing, to appeal to everybody, to the mass audience, or whether you're doing something that you feel is about something or you care about, and in which case you're not doing it.
I learned something in watching my youngster perform as a stand-up comic in a club just a few weeks ago. He works with a partner, it's two of them, and they did a skit called Snowbird Hunting, where they have a lot of tourists, winter tourists in Arizona, and it was actually on how to go out and hunt tourists and shoot them, And the university students in the crowd and the Arizonans, they loved it. They were rolling in the aisles, but the tourists there were, ooh, is that distasteful, I
mean, you're threatening them. Yeah. I mean, the last thing a lot of people want to do is go and pay money to be threatened. Unfortunately, I think it's a very healthy thing to do. It's great when you're young, you've got all your life ahead of you, you can afford to take a bit of a bashing, but when you're getting middle-aged like us, we don't want to go out and be threatened when we go to a good comedic show, do we? No. I want a bit of reassuring entertainment, something that just say, life's all right, it's okay, there are good people out there.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I want.
As long as we mentioned young comics and young writers, what advice do you have for these young people starting out today, young comics, young writers? Where can they get ideas? How do you get ideas for writing scripts?
Study medicine, I reckon.
Study medicine, political
law.
Yeah.
Political economy.
Yeah.
Political economy must be a good field for
Political
humorists,
science?
wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, science.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did any of you, were ever stand-up comics yourself?
We used to do cabaret, which is about as near as we got, which is like 4 people doing sort of cabaret during the university days. I mean, it is the worst kind of
It's absolutely frightening when you think what
you're
people
basically playing to large amounts of people who are largely drunk and aggressive.
And it's a very masochistic sort of job that I'm convinced of it. I mean, to go up there night after night and be ridiculed, shouted at, ignored. It's amazing. I'm amazed that people actually get through that process.
It's the bravest form of comedy, to stand on stage alone and just make people laugh.
And how do you handle the hecklers? And that becomes an art after a while.
It's a whole different world,
Yeah.
That's the advantage of television. You don't get hecklers.
It's an advantage of film. It takes a while, you sort of, you can work everything out, spend a long time sort of writing it, and then sort of do it, and then you can.
Terry, do you think it's essential, maybe not essential, but do you think it's important for young people that want to do what you're doing, to have done improvisation? So many fine, I'm thinking of Dan Aykroyd, late John Belushi, they started in improv houses, and that seems to be common with American comics.
I mean, my experience, the good thing about improvisation I found, which I only did sort of when I was in university, we just did a little bit. It wasn't for comedy really, it was just for sort of acting. It was quite good for sort of getting rid of a few of your inhibitions and actually sort of getting up and walking around in front of people.
Did you ever have any?
Inhibitions?
I've never noticed one about you personally.
Oh, gosh, I always think I'm terribly inhibited.
Really?
I mean, I wasn't much more inhibited.
Oh, you,
We tend to do our improvisation at the writing stage when you're sitting in front of a desk, thinking it up and getting it down. I mean, the worst thing about improv is you've got to sit through the 18 ideas that aren't as good as the 12 good ones.
So your improv is when you get together and you're writing.
Yeah, so we try and
Yeah.
so you're sorting out the best ideas and then sorting out the best way to present them in the most interesting fashion. So
But
it's
you
a stage
don't do it
beyond
when the
improv.
camera's going.
No,
No, it's all
no,
like
no.
that. I mean, I think that's the thrill of an audience seeing improv, is that for those little moments where you suddenly realize that, boom, you've seen the spark of the thing, just suddenly,
Yeah.
boom, it appears right up
Yeah.
like that. And that's quite amazing, but ours is all done in private. That's
In fact, I mean, we don't really improvise much in the group, really. I mean, it's more going off and writing stuff and then coming to the group with something, and then there's discussion, and that's what our improvisation is, I suppose, in the discussion. And ideas do come up then.
Yeah. Graham, I noticed in the Monty Python films that I've seen, reaction from the audience. I mean, talking back to the screen. It was last night in the screening, in the skit where, come on and follow me, you know, and you walk and there's my house and you look into the camera but
Eric in this
I mean,
particular
Eric, and
instance,
that's
yeah.
that particular skit. But in that particular skit, they were yelling, hello, you know, and the audience would answer hello. And how do you feel about that? The
That's
audience
fine.
reacting to your...
Well, it's good to get a reaction, even a hello. Not quite so sure about woo, though. But that's not bad, I suppose, is it? Once
Not
you
really,
get used to it.
I think it's interesting. I mean, that's what's lovely. You've done the work. It's all done. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's out there. And then the only enjoyment I think I get is seeing the different reactions to the thing. And that's, other than that, it's a dead thing. It's long gone, dead, finished. And it's only as people see it.
And it
that
is
you can
fascinating how you play it, and it's totally different in a different audience, a different place. It'll play just totally differently. It looks like a different film. I can watch it sort of endlessly as long as there's an audience there. I couldn't sit and watch it on my own. But
Well, I think that's a credit to you because not too many films do get an audience reaction like that during the film itself. They might get applause at the end of the film, but you only usually see that with a live audience. You know, and that's to your credit and to your ability as writers and performers.
It's interesting, like the walking one, because that's about one of the few times we've actually looked directly at camera and talked directly to the audience, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting that actually got a response like that they answered
Well,
back.
then normally in films you just pretend that there's not there. You know, that's the one place you don't look. Everybody looks. So it's very threatening to an audience when you suddenly look straight at them, or it appears to be looking straight at them.
I'm so big. I'm not on the
Absolutely.
screen, you know.
Yeah. Well, look what Hitler did with a few close-ups. You know what I mean?
It was amazing, isn't it? It's been written that you're angry young men and you're getting back at society and the world through your comedy.
I like this.
Young?
I like this.
Young,
Young?
wonderful adjective.
40
Should we change
years
that to
here,
middle age? Any comment on that?
Sort of cross, not really angry, you know. Maybe a bit pissed.
Miffed. Miffed.
Irritating.
Miffed young men,
I think
miffed
so.
older men.
Yes.
A couple of questions about filmmaking in general. First of all, to you, as an animator, do you think the art of or the animation is becoming a lost art?
Oh no, I think it's going. I mean, there's lots of it about in a lot of different forms. I mean, there's less and less of Walt Disney style animation because it's economically unfeasible now. But there's I don't know. I find it very alive and well, especially with commercials and there's shorts all over the place, so people can do very quick, exciting things that they couldn't normally do before. Before the Disney thing, well, I don't think it'll ever happen again. I mean, computers are taking over in certain areas, but they do a different job, is all they do. But actual blood and sweat is very expensive now.
Yeah. I interviewed some Hollywood directors and attended some classes in directing at the University of Arizona, and they talked about to make a good film, you should do something you're not supposed to do according to the book, once or twice. I get the impression you do a lot of what directors wouldn't do.
Well, I think we had an advantage that we didn't actually train. We didn't actually go up to the business and learn how to make films. We just made them. I mean, Terry and I had never directed a film before Holy Grail. We just bullied our way in and said, we're directors. And it was great because we hadn't gone through that process that turns you into a director like all the other
can't do this, you can't
directors.
do that,
And
yeah.
so we made stupid mistakes, and we also took chances that you wouldn't normally. We were just naive and arrogant.
Yeah. It's also been said too that, and I agree with this, and that what you do, even though some people, it may be somewhat distasteful, a particular scene, but you do it with class.
Well,
Terrible thing to say.
You don't like to hear that.
It's almost like taste.
Well, I think what we do is we try to make. We don't see any reason why comedy should look tatty and cheap. So we try and treat it as seriously as you would sort of high drama or whatever, and try and do it as well and make it look as good. And I don't see why it shouldn't be beautiful. So I mean that's.
You have a good look, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Graham's been quiet. So
I
I'm gonna-
have, haven't I?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
I
have.
have
Been
been.
terribly quiet for a long
So I'm going to
time
throw a
now.
question directly at you.
Okay, fine. I'll do my best.
Good luck.
I just don't know how to word this exactly, but influence. Maybe influence is a little bit better. By any of the early comics, Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy.
I
Did
think
you
that-
study any of them?
Yes, certainly observed them. But I think the major influence with us was there were two really. One was the Goon Show on radio, which was an anarchic radio program, which we all heard when we were around about the age of 14, 15 or so, I guess. And Beyond the Fringe, too, the review, the stage review. That was an influence because when we were at university, that had just happened.
That was
And-
Dudley Moore,
yeah.
and Peter Cook.
Yeah.
And that made all this seem possible, seemed a possible way to go for us then. Yeah.
So you could say you were influenced somewhat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bound to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who's now lives in Arizona from London. His name is Aubrey Franklin, and he's the world's tea ambassador. Tea ambassador. He has the mutton chops and the pith helmet. And sometimes when I talk to him on the phone, I think, he's telling, I'm going to give you a tinkle on the blower and let's have a knees knocker. And what I'm driving at here is
This man's a fraud. They don't talk like that in England at all.
they don't talk like that.
Not a bit of it.
Now, are there colloquialisms or slang things that you could say in England that you couldn't say here? Do you know what I'm driving at? When you're writing your comedy, some things, depending on the words that you use, could be funny in England.
Oh,
but
yes,
yeah.
yes,
do you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
Yeah, the word Randy. It's a name here.
Yeah.
You could say you're Randy in England. It means you're horny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I kept on saying this morning I wanted to I was asking people where the loo was, and people kept on sort of avoiding my eye and not looking at me and everything. Actually, I wanted to go to the lavatory, you see, but we call it the loo in England quite
Yeah.
often.
What does the loo mean here then?
I don't know what it means anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
Oh,
Or-
yeah?
It doesn't mean anything.